Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. This is the Village Council regular public meeting. The date is September 10th, 2025. The time is 7:37 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilmember Mortimer.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
Mayor Vagianos.
Here. Will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? Thank you. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statements of funds on hand as of August 31st, 2025 be accepted as submitted.
I second that.
Mortimer.
Yes.
Perrin.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. I move that the Village Council minutes of August 6th and August 13th, 2025, having been reviewed by the Village Council and now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
I'd like to second that.
Mortimer.
Yes.
Perrin.
Yes.
White.
Abstain. I was missing one of those days.
Okay. Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. We are now going to read several proclamations. We're going to take them just a little out of order. So we will begin with Fire Prevention Week.
Whereas the Village of Ridgewood is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our town, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are in locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas the 2025 Fire Prevention Week theme, Charge into Fire Safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home, works to educate everyone about using these batteries safely. The campaign stresses how important it is to buy, charge, and recycle safely when it comes to the lithium-ion batteries. And whereas buy only certified products, look for UL, ETL, CSA marks. Charge using original cords on hard surfaces and avoid overcharging. Recycle batteries at proper facilities, not in trash or regular recycling. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, and whereas the Village of Ridgewood residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes, and whereas the residents have a properly installed, tested, and replaced non-working fire alarms are more prepared and will therefore be likely to survive a fire, and whereas Fire Prevention Week is celebrated through North America every October, and it's the oldest public health observation on record in the U.S., entering its 102nd year. Fire Prevention Week works to educate people about the leading risks to home fires and ways they can better protect themselves and their loved ones. Local fire departments, schools, and community organizations play a key role in bringing Fire Prevention Week to life in their communities each year and spreading basic but critical fire safety messages. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim the week of October 5th through October 11th, 2025 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the village, and urges all residents to protect their homes and families by heeding the important safety message of Fire Prevention Week.
Thank you, Frank. And now we are going to read a proclamation for Gold Star Mothers and Family Day, and we're going to do something a little special tonight. Keith, who is a Gold Star family member, is going to be reading this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. And please excuse the hat. I had a medical procedure on Friday and I'm on the mend. I want to thank the Village Council for allowing me the opportunity to read this proclamation tonight. My uncle, Harold Hatch Van Winkle Jr., was killed at 21 years old during the Tet Offensive in Vietnam And as the mayor mentioned, I grew up in a proud Gold Star family, so this is quite an honor. Whereas the United States of America, through its armed forces, has had many heroes who have defended the lives and liberties of all of their fellow Americans. And whereas many of these heroes have lost their lives in order to defend the virtues of our hard-won liberty and security. And whereas the parents, spouses, and children of these fallen heroes, known as American Gold Star mothers and families, are aware of the exceptional spirit of service which their military family members possessed, which led them to protect and preserve the freedoms which are, as Americans, something we enjoy every single day. And whereas these Gold Star mothers and families have the courage and strength to comfort other families, support veterans, and give back to their communities. And whereas the Congress of the United States, by Senate Joint Resolution 115 of June 23, 1936, designated the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mother's Day. And whereas in 2011, President Barack Obama amended the designation in recognition of Gold Star family members on this day. And whereas Marine parents began an initiative several years ago to encourage Americans to light a luminary on Gold Star Mother's Day. And whereas on the evening of Sunday, September 28, 2025, residents of the Village of Ridgewood will observe Gold Star Mother and Family Day at Memorial Park in Van Ness Square by placing a luminary at the end of their driveway at sundown, away from anything that can catch fire, to honor and acknowledge the mothers and families of our fallen heroes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, in recognition of this event, does hereby proclaim Sunday, September 28th, 2025, as Gold Star Mothers and Family Day in the Village of Ridgewood, and does hereby encourage all residents to light a luminary at their home in honor and recognition of the mothers and families of fallen soldiers throughout the United States of America.
Thank you, Keith. I'm going to ask that whoever is around on Sunday, September 28th at 7 p.m., come to Van Nest. You'll be happy that you did. And the reason that we are all here discussing things in open session like this is because of these families and their sacrifice. Join us. And so, we move on. National Breast Cancer Awareness Week.
Actually, I asked to take this one. Before I read this, I just want to thank my wife for having the good sense of getting checked early. As a result of her good sense, I still have a wife, and my kids still have a mother. I encourage everyone to get checked out as soon as possible and as early as possible. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood values the health of all of its citizens, and whereas the Village of Ridgewood supports awareness of diseases such as breast cancer, which affects the lives of its citizens, and whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, whereas the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month educates women about the importance of early detection for breast cancer, and whereas since the inception of the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, mammography's use has doubled and breast cancer death rates have declined. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood would like to promote the use of a mammography as the best available method of detecting breast change and that may soon be cancer. And whereas breast cancer deaths could decline further if all women aged 40 and older receive mammograms at regular intervals. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood urges all women and their families in the Village of Ridgewood to get the facts about mammography and does hereby proclaim October 2025 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month as we rededicate ourselves to the pursuit of new and better ways to prevent, detect, and treat this devastating disease.
Thanks, Evan. And let's move on. The next proclamation is for National Bullying Prevention Month.
Whereas bullying is physical, verbal, sexual, or emotional harm or intimidation intentionally directed at a person or a group of people. And whereas bullying occurs in neighborhoods, playgrounds, schools, and through technology such as the internet and cell phones. Whereas various researchers have concluded that bullying is the most common form of violence affecting millions of American children and adolescents annually. And whereas thousands of New Jersey children and adolescents are affected by bullying annually. And whereas targets of bullying are more likely to acquire physical, emotional, and learning problems, and students who are repeatedly bullied often fear such activities such as riding on the bus, going to school, or simply attending community activities. And whereas children who are bullied are at greater risk of engaging in more serious violent behaviors, and whereas children who witness bullying often feel less secure, more fearful, and intimidated, now therefore be resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim that October 2025 National Anti-Bullying Month, and encourages the Village of Ridgewood schools, students, parents, recreation programs, religious institutions, and community organizations to engage in a variety of awareness and prevention activities designed to make our communities safer for all children and adolescents.
Thank you, Siobhan. Pam, you've got Knockout Opioid Abuse Day.
Whereas New Jersey is in the midst of a life-threatening opioid abuse epidemic, and whereas the Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey has designated October 6th, 2025 as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day, an initiative with multiple purposes to raise awareness of the potential for dependency on prescribed pain medicine and its link to heroin and fentanyl use in our state, to reduce stigma of addiction and shine a light on the need for recovery support, and to communicate to physicians information on safer prescribing messages found in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines for prescribing opioids, which include considering other therapies, setting realistic treatment goals with patients, and discussing with patients the positives and negatives of opioids. And whereas the State Senate and General Assembly jointly resolved that October 6th shall be permanently designated as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day in New Jersey in order to raise awareness about the dangers of and the link between prescription opioid misuse and heroin addiction, and to educate healthcare providers, community leaders, state lawmakers, and members of the public about the opioid abuse epidemic and its effects throughout the state of New Jersey and across the country. And whereas Children's Aid and Family Services, the Center for Alcohol and Drug Resources, and the Bergen County Prevention Coalition support initiatives designed to raise awareness about opioid abuse in New Jersey and take steps to prevent addiction. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim October 6th, 2025 as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day in the Village of Ridgewood, and encourages all residents to join together in supporting this initiative.
Thank you, Pam. I'm now going to ask the council to join me in the well as we continue the evening's festivities. Working? Not yet? Is it working? Good. I'd like to call up the members of the Mayor's Wellness Campaign Committee to join us.
Mayor, you want to try the other microphone maybe?
This one's not doing it?
Oh, now it was.
Is that better? Okay, I'm closer. So I had the distinct honor of, come on over here. I had the distinct honor of working with these professionals on the Mayor's Wellness Campaign that they have been doing for many, many years and doing a great job on. And so we are going to read a proclamation in their honor and in the community's honor. Whereas, as part of the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, the Village of Ridgewood is launching an exciting new community initiative, the 1 Million Minutes of Wellness Challenge, with a kickoff on September 13th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. And whereas this 12-week challenge is designed to introduce participants of all ages and abilities to the 8 pillars of wellness and unite individuals, families, schools, businesses, and houses of worship around the shared goal of building a healthier community, 1 minute at a time. Whereas the 8 pillars of wellness are physical exercise, movement and active living, emotional stress management and self-care, social, building relationships and community engagement, intellectual, lifelong learning and mental stimulation, environmental, sustainable living and nature appreciation, financial, budgeting, saving, and financial well-being, occupational, work-life balance and career growth, and finally, spiritual, mindfulness, gratitude, and inner peace. And whereas it's a morning walk or run, reading a book, doing a crossword puzzle, taking a fitness class, working in the garden, playing a sport, or sharing a meal with family or friends, every minute counts. And whereas the Village has partnered with village businesses and groups to help lead this challenge, including Age-Friendly Ridgewood, Fit for Mom Bergen, Phytometry Health Club, Health Barn, HILT, which is Highlights in Leisure Time, which is a senior group, Intention Think, the Open Space Committee, the Ridgewood Parks and Recreation Department, the Ridgewood Public Library, Ridgewood Public Schools, Ridgewood YMCA, Temple Israel, Tostique, the Fitness Academy, and the Valley Hospital. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood encourages all who live, work, or participate in programs and services in Ridgewood to participate in the 1 Million Minutes of Wellness Challenge and to log their minutes every day. The overall progress of all participants will be measured by the goal thermometers that's goal, not gold, that are placed in front of the Ridgewood Public Library, Ridgewood Village Hall, and near the lobby entrance to Ridgewood Village Hall. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim September 13th through December 5th, 2025, the 1 Million Minutes of Wellness Challenge in the Village of Ridgewood, and encourages everyone in Ridgewood to embrace the 8 pillars of wellness in order to build a healthier community. And so I bestow this proclamation on Dawn, our director of the health department, Dawn Citrullo, and I want to thank everyone here. Would you please give everyone a big round of applause? I will tell you this personally means a lot to me because wellness is the central tenet in my life. Those 8 pillars are the words that I live by and guide my life by and my family by. And I urge everyone, join in. It's not hard. It doesn't take an hour a day or an hour a week, but jump into this. I promise you, you won't regret that you did. Dawn, will you please say a few words?
Thank you. That was wonderful. You described everything very well. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the health department. And one of the things that we didn't mention is there are prizes at the end. And we're suggesting and recommending, like we have the police here, for you guys to kind of do something internally. I know the fire department is doing something internally. I'm doing something with my department internally. Just recommending, it's just a way to get people out and active, encouraging families to have dinner together. You can count that as minutes. Anything you can think of that's good for your well-being and your fitness, your wellness are count towards the minutes. So we encourage people to participate, and it's a good way to get people to connect. And if you don't have any plans on Saturday, come visit us at the park. There's a stroller walk, there's a walk in the park, and there's also a yoga class. So we hope to see you there soon. Thanks.
Dawn, how can people find out more, log on, record their minutes? Where can they find out more information?
On the Village website, we have the information, or like us on Facebook or Instagram, and we have information on there as well. Or they can just call the health department if they would like.
Thank you so much. Please give them a big round of applause. They're doing it all for you. Thank you. Thank you. Come on down the line. This is the wedding reception. Photos first, sorry. Photos. Yeah, this is one of the good nights. Lots of nice things happening. Tonight, we have the honor of swearing in 3 new police officers to our village. And then we have a very special treat after that. So I'm going to call up Officer Felice Bonanno. Felice, do you have anyone here who is going to hold the Bible for you?
I guess my mother.
He guesses his mother. Let's bring the whole family up. Come on, everybody comes up. Does anybody want to be a member of the Bonanno family? Actually, my fault. Felice, repeat after me, and I'm going to put the mic in front of you, so wait for me. I, Felice Bonanno,
I, Felice Bonanno,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully
impartially,
and partially
and justly perform all of the duties
and justly perform all of the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. It's official. Do the wedding line. And now I'd like to call up Paul Doyle and his family. You saw how it was done, right? All right, good. I, Paul Doyle,
I, Paul Doyle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all of the duties
and justly perform all the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. It's a big day in the Doyle household. Okay, I got it. Pictures. Oh, wait. No, signatures. 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 Here we go. Yep. Now wait. Edward Moody, come on down. And his family. Your family here? Here we go. Who's got this? Stand right here. You ready? Here we go. I, Edward Moody. Sorry. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all of the duties
and justly perform all of the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Pictures. I'm getting this. Here we go. Wait a minute. And so I would like to call up Police Officer Isaiah Walters and Chief Genzo Lyons. Come on up. Officer Walters is being awarded the Police Officer of the Year Award. And that's why all these guys are out here, because we're all so proud of you. And I remember swearing you in. So this is a really big day. Very proud of you. Chief, will you take it from here?
Absolutely. So this is a relatively new award since this is the first one we've ever done, to my recollection, going back at least 30 plus years. What we wanted to do was just take a little bit and just try to recognize some of the phenomenal achievements that these officers go out there and commit every single day. They're out there protecting us day in and day out. And we thought, what better way than actually coming up with something that each and every officer there can vote for. And they can vote for one of their colleagues who they think stood out. Not that everybody doesn't do a phenomenal job, but this person stood out. He made a couple phenomenal arrests, including one that involved getting a gun off the street, which is fantastic. And as well, you can clap, that's fine. But besides just those little standouts, every day he goes out there, he's productive, and he's serving the community. And every single one of these officers came together. The officers voted for it, the supervisors confirmed it, and we all came to agreement that there's no better person than the inaugural recipient of the Officer of the Year Award 2024, Officer Isaiah Walters.
Officer Walters, would you like to say a few words to the people that you protect every day?
I was not prepared for this. No problem. I was not prepared for this. It is an honor to receive this award. Most importantly, I want to thank my supervisors, my squad, Sergeant McKeon, Lieutenant Chuck, and my squad standing over there, Malone, Lucas, and Joe Youngberg, as well as Miguel. Thank you, guys. You guys are amazing.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Clear out. It's half the room leaves. If not more.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 5-minute recess to allow the room to clear. What's that? Oh, that is one. Yeah, I remember. Tom Dutch's guy. Absolutely.
Hi. You look so familiar. Is your mic on?
Hi, how are you? Go ahead.
Huh?
I think we should have a Ricola fund for the council.
Now, these are cough drops, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're all naturals, like that's what's good.
Do they have, like, natural honey in it?
Susie, he's gonna close you up even more. Calm down.
We're here every Wednesday.
Thank you for saying so. And I'm glad you enjoyed it.
to take a roll call? Thank you all for your indulgence. We're going to reconvene.
I just do the roll call. Councilmember Mortimer
I am still here.
and Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember Whites.
Here.
Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
Mayor Vagianos.
Here. And we will now go to comments from the public.
I'm Kaylin Tomaszewski, and I'm a resident. Can I just start?
Yep.
Yes, begin.
Okay, we kind of touched on this a little bit over there, but I wanted it to go on record. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are in this Kensington mess.
Oh, you can't shut the door. It's
Can't
gotta
shut the- excuse me.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are in this Kensington mess because of decisions made right here in this chamber. Let's walk through the public facts. This is all public, on public record. In March, the Superior Court denied Kensington's motion to intervene. Denied. The judge issued an order on March 26th. Then, on May 19th, the court filed the order fixing Ridgewood's municipal obligations, and it made it very crystal clear in this order that the Kensington intervention had been denied on March 26th. So then 5 weeks later, this council advanced a housing element and fair share plan that included Kensington anyway. The same exact plan, nothing was changed, the one that was denied by the court. This is all public record. You put them back into our plan after the court already said no. And now, because you opened that door, on August 28th, as we all know, Kensington filed a brand new answer, affirmative defenses, and challenge. You know what they're demanding. I'm not going to waste anyone's time on that. Please go online. This is all public record. But for the audience, they're pointing directly to the rejection of the Ordinance 4052 as proof that Ridgewood is out of compliance. This didn't have to happen. The court had removed them. The only reason Kensington is back is because of you, our elected council, chose to write them into our plan after the court told you not to. So I ask you, why did you do that? Why did you expose Ridgewood to this challenge? And why did you mislead residents into thinking you were protecting us? We, the residents, are the ones paying the price now in legal fees, in uncertainty, in erosion of trust. And make no mistake, we want to hold you accountable for the decisions that were brought here. And now, we find out at the car show, you want us to rely on our own town attorney, Matt Rogers. With respect to Matt, I don't think he's here, but how could we possibly trust anything you suggest after this entire process, after this level of sneakiness? We're here because of these decisions, and that makes it very hard for residents to put their faith in you or in this council. Some of you, I again will say I elected, and I don't know if you just went along with the plan, but we heard that you worked with them. We know that it's in the filings. Please go online and read it. We're going to be fighting this, and Matt Rogers is not the person to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylin.
My name is Steve Freitas, and I'm a 32-year resident of Ridgewood.
Steve, if you could speak directly into the microphone. The acoustics in here aren't terrific. We're working on them.
And I'll speak louder, too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I've listened to the comments made by my fellow Ridgewood residents about the proposed assisted living facility that's recently become such a hot topic here in town. I'd like to share my thoughts on this issue and on the larger issue I feel it shines a light on. The members of our village council and bodies like the zoning board, although some receive an honorarium, basically volunteer their time and energies to guide the course of our town. All achieved their current positions through democratic processes, either having been voted into office or subsequently appointed by the people we voted for. For this, they have and will continue to have my thanks, because I don't wish to learn about the assisted living facility. I wish to trust the people that I elected to take care of these things. As our elected representatives, they're empowered by me and everyone else who lives here to make decisions on our behalf. There is, however, a very vocal minority in our town who choose to, at times, not only voice their disagreement with the initiatives taken by our elected officials and their appointees, but go beyond just disagreeing with the decision. They insult the motives and the very character of those elected and appointed officials who don't share their point of view. My purpose in speaking tonight, in addition to saying thank you to the members of the Village Council, is to express my request that we all treat each other respectfully and kindly, or to put it another way, that we all behave like the neighbors we all are. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Steve.
Shelley Rothstein, resident. In the other room, you asked if anybody had any comments, that we should always go directly to you. Larger font. This is the ordinance. This is how they're printed, and this is how they're put down on the board downstairs. Impossible to read. We've been referring people when our ordinance was up to go take a look at the bulletin board, because that's the only place you'd find it. It's impossible to read. When I spoke last, I think myself and many of the other residents were really upset by what Mrs. McManus said about the property itself, about not spending time there, not having any idea how close it was to the high school, just in general being unaware of the property that she was hired by our town to deal with and to give recommendations for. And she had no idea the amount of pedestrians that pass through it every day, especially on the side streets, to the point that she's so misinformed that she thought Maple Avenue was the busier street, when we all know it's not. So I have pictures again, because I really want to make sure that we all understand who we are fighting for and who we are fighting this legal battle for. And the legal battle against Kensington, against fair housing, and against this fragile corner and anything that gets put on it. Unsafe intersection, picture taken on August 20th. Sports have started in town. I am at the red light. The red light turns green, and this is what happens. The kids walk right in front of the car. Keith, I'm going to ask you again to please pass. And I would like these all back, because they contain images of children. I don't want them going anywhere. They're all taken. So
We'll return them all. We'll look at them and return them.
But the girls did not know where to cross. There's no walk, don't walk sign. They crossed right in front of me, and if I hadn't been paying attention, I would have hit them. Same thing, August 18th. They're crossing through the intersection.
Shelley, when you're not at the mic, if you could just stop speaking, because then
They're crossing
Thank
through
you.
the intersection, because that's the most direct route into town. Same date, the 18th. A number of kids on bicycles in the middle of the street, because that's what kids do. Same date, later in the same morning. Again, kids on foot, kids on bicycles. And lastly is the first day of school. 25 kids at least in this picture. This is a fragile neighborhood and a fragile intersection. I am asking you to defend our town as best as you can, as hard as you can, because that's what you're fighting for. You are fighting for the safety of our children.
Thank you, Shelley.
Janet Sharko, 500 Franklin Turnpike. Yesterday morning at 7:20, there was a flatbed 18-wheeler parked in front of my house, idling its engine, delivering some kind of landscaping goods. There was a tractor-like vehicle that was taking pallets off of the flatbed, and this was at 7:20 in the morning. And so I went outside and I talked to one of the landscapers, and I said, and before I went out there, I went online to look at Ridgewood's noise ordinances. And it said that you can start that sort of work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and this was 7:20. So I'm talking to the landscaper, and I said, did you know that Ridgewood had noise ordinances? And he said, no, I didn't know that. And I said, well, the ordinance says you can start this work at 8 o'clock in the morning. And he said, okay, well, we won't do it again. So this morning there was no noise, but I don't know if that's because there wasn't anything else to deliver. But maybe in the future when landscapers ask for permits or whatever, you can remind them of the noise ordinances. And another thing I'd like to ask about is if there was ever any thought to restoring Twinney Pond. I have talked to wetlands restorers, and this man told me that there are materials that can be used to restore the capacity of Twinney Pond to hold water, because it's really just, once upon a time it was a great place, I used to hear kids skating out there and everything, and now it's just nothing. It's just overgrown, and when it rains, it'll hold water, but otherwise it won't. So I just wanted to know if there were any plans or any thoughts about restoring Twinney Pond.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Cynthia O'Keefe, Ridgewood resident. So I wanted to start just quickly by saying that the main quote at the National September 11th Memorial Museum, and tomorrow's September 11th, it's a quote by Virgil. It says, "No day shall erase you from the memory of time." And I think that's important because we all exist here in a community. We are all neighbors. I don't really agree with much of what the last gentleman who spoke says, because it's actually one of the reasons I never joined Ridgewood Mom and Dad's Facebook group, because I think a lot of people get kicked off, and I think that's terrible. So for somebody to come and speak about how we should be treating people, you kind of have to walk the talk. I try my best every day to be a good neighbor. I'm here to support the Kensington neighbors because, like Shedler, they're going through something very similar where we came and fought. And, I'm talking about September 11th and how we should all matter to one another. And we're talking about health and well-being and wellness. And we've spent the last couple of years trying to raise awareness and convince you that some of the decisions that you've made do not take into account health and well-being. And last week I actually called it a very hypocritical action. I mean, I think a wellness campaign is wonderful, but when you're doing things, and you can roll your eyes, Shaban, I don't really care. I'm here to give my public comment, and this is important to me. And whether you agree with it or not, you've made it clear that some neighbors are more important than others. You've marginalized our neighborhood. That's something that's your legacy, and you're going to have to live with that. And I feel very sorry for you, like I said last week. But the reason I wanted to speak about Kensington is, you did make some poor choices and poor decisions, and there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that residents are not aware of. These people are now tipped off to the fact that, they need to build trust with you. They don't trust you right now. it's sad because some of them voted for you and they feel, you know, this pain and torture now for making what they think is a bad decision. I just hope you do really think about what you're doing when you make a decision. You know, our very own neighborhood had 3 children hit by cars, and here, this giant monstrosity would have been constructed. It would have been voted on if these people hadn't come out, and no traffic study was done, just an informal eyeball check. It doesn't work that way. I can't even pull out of that parking lot when I go and run errands by the Greenway Market. It is very dangerous. I really hope you take into account what residents are telling you and start making better decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Cynthia. Anybody else?
Good evening, Ann Loving, Ridgewood taxpayer. Last week I spoke to you about sidewalks, and now on my street, which is South Irving Street, some of the panels that have been open for weeks are still open, but the village has come and cut roots. In one case, the root was as big around as my arm. This is not going to be good for the tree. I implore you to allocate money so that residents can, you know, pay the basic price of a square concrete panel, and the village will pay the extra to either put in the soft sidewalks, which also on South Irving Street are doing great, or to do the curved out concrete, because now there's a bunch of trees on South Irving that have been mortally wounded. They're not going to die today, but they're going to die. You cut off a root this big, they're going to die. It's just very sad, and I wish you would do something about it. I also want to say something echoing what a previous resident said regarding the 1,000,000 minutes of wellness. I'm a senior citizen. I'm very dedicated to wellness. But I think it is extraordinarily hypocritical of the mayor to talk about how wellness and health is just central to his life when you are pushing for artificial turf. It's just, as the deputy mayor so eloquently and factually has stated numerous times, the turf is not safe. Why can't you put a grass field over there? I don't understand that. I do not understand it, and I think it's almost laughable, although you don't like us to laugh in meetings, but it's almost laughable when you go on and on about how you're so dedicated to health and you're going to put this plastic turf down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Hello, John Fry, resident.
John, if you could speak into the mic, please.
Yep,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
And Keith, we'll have to get you new microphones here. There are other kinds.
We're working on it.
So first of all, I wanted to say thank you for showing up at the car show the other night, some of you. That took a little bit of guts to walk across the street to our exhibit, so thank you very much for doing that, even though we didn't agree and we gave you a hard time, but thank you. Also, I think that all of us, and as I've walked the streets in the town handing out my door hangers, or our door hangers, I should say, that indeed everybody's door that has come to the door, they've been opposed to the Kensington project. They've been opposed to the massive development in town, the changes in town. I have not had one person come and say, that's a grand idea. So I think there's some depth to the conversation. There are a few people here tonight, but I think that there's several thousand standing behind us. The other thing, as far as what is the plan for the town? I know that we have some things on the schedule for the Central Business District, other things that are in proposal stage, development stage. I would love to hear sometime what the vision of the town is, where we're heading to. We have a master plan, but I think your interpretation thereof of where we're going and what's being thought about, we should get that out for the public to see so we're not surprised the next time. What's going next to Ben and Jerry's, what's going in other spots in town. A little bit more about what you're thinking about with the theater. Thinking about, I've heard many people talking about pushing the height up of buildings across town. All these things become concern and become negative noise underneath. and would nice to get out in front of it. So maybe we could have a town meeting. Go to BF and invite 800 people or however many of the theater the holds there and do something of that nature. Maybe it's time to do that and bring everybody together in town and present what's going on in the picture of where you want to take the town in the next 5 years, 10 years, what your legacy will be, good or bad. We talked earlier about the frustration in the communications and so on, so thank you for that. Safety is obviously a big issue for all of us, and you've heard that again tonight. Another point that I was thinking about was the community here. We all stand for Ridgewood, and Kensington is obviously an outside developer coming in, and our first impression of them before they've actually even bought any of the property is that they're not a good neighbor. We're not happy with this new neighbor moving in. So before they start putting their shovels in the ground, let's make them a good neighbor too, if they're going to show up, because they've got a bad reputation before they even came into town. So we need to deal with that. There's so many things that Kensington is doing to, my time is up.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, and we have no one on hybrid access, I'm going to close public comment and open this up for our council and manager to respond to any of the questions they choose.
Yes. With regard to the noise that one of the speakers experienced of a landscaper outside, we are working on an ordinance so that landscapers would register with the village, and that way we could communicate with them, send them for instance, the ordinance about noise. We also, as to Twinney Pond, we have the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference coming to give training about how to maintain the trails. And also with the hopefully soon to happen disposal, we used to call it a diversion, but I guess now we call it a disposal of an impediment to grant money to steward our parks. I anticipate that fairly soon we will be eligible for grants for a lot of our parks, including Twinney Pond, which to me is like the forest primeval, but it needs a lot of love. Specifically getting the invasives out. So we are aware of it. We aren't ignoring it.
I want to tag on that too. So because I with the diversion or disposal, excuse me, that Pam talked about, that's one of the things that we've already been talking about. Open Space is a great committee. And at Open Space, we actually have a student intern who's making his project to revitalize Twinney Pond. So that's somebody from our high school, which is fantastic. Additionally, that there's this November, there's a referendum for the open space tax and potentially increasing it if it's voted in. And one of the things that's been discussed at Open Space is Twinney Pond. So there's a lot of those committees that are really behind it. So I would encourage you, if you want, to try to join some of those meetings. And additionally, that in October that we have these park walks, and October's park walk is going to be at Twinney Pond. So we're doing it. And then last, that for the 7 o'clock, before I was in the council, I had a similar issue. I'd recommend you call the non-emergency line of the police department to let them know. When it happened on our street, it was a Sunday morning, around the same time, and I'm around the corner from you, I believe, on Van Buren, and then somebody showed up to just let them know they can't do that on a Sunday, especially that early. So here to help, and you can always reach out to one of us. Frank, I'd like to help you.
So I also have a couple things. continuing with the 20s, last year when we were at the League of Municipalities, we connected with Rutgers because there's interest in 20s because it's a kettle pond, which is rare unto itself. It was just sidebar formed by the base of a glacier many years ago. So in addition to this, we weren't picked by Rutgers last year, but we're going to keep trying because everyone's aware. I mean, I remember ice skating on 20s and when it was there, and we all really want to see it restored. It's definitely on our list. It's a question of funding and resourcing. Heather, with respect to the font side on the public posting, is there a way we can increase that?
So our pending ordinances are on our website. If you go onto the website, and you'll see ordinances that have been adopted as well as ordinances that are pending. So they're in a normal font size. What we do is we take the newspaper, publication, and we copy that. We could try to increase it. Some of the ordinances are very voluminous, so I don't know how well we'll do with that, but certainly if it's a one page, we can try to get it, bigger font size. But it is available to you at any time on the website once it's been introduced.
And Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, the ones on the website are in full.
Yes, they're in full.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you'd be able to access it. As a matter of fact, if you go to the homepage of the website, there's a link directly in the center of the page that says ordinances and resolutions, and the ordinances that are pending and the ones that were recently adopted are there in full.
And they'll be crisper because the website has more clarity and you don't get the glass.
It actually looks exactly like this document here.
So in addition to that, I want to say that we still are discussing in Shade Tree, but every tree that has a sidewalk in it is inspected, and we make sure that the roots are not damaged because we're lucky to have an arborist, we're lucky to have Mena Andrulo, and we are still waiting feedback from engineering on the soft sidewalks, which we don't have an official report on, so we can't begin to discuss whether that's a viable option. And lastly, Cynthia, I was not rolling my eyes. I do want to take a minute to reference September 11th, which is tomorrow. I was thinking in my head of how maybe we should have acknowledged it. Personally, I'm left without words as to what to say. I lost a cousin, so apologies if you took my looking away. I was a little shocked with the September 11th reference, and I would like to say to everybody, I hope you enjoy your families tomorrow. I hope if you lived in the city or lost someone in the city that you take the opportunity to honor that tomorrow. So it was not an eye roll. I was just trying to gather my thoughts with the reference.
Mayor, just with regard to the affordable housing, and for those of you who attended the special meeting before tonight's public council meeting, I may be a little redundant here, but I just want to reiterate that this process goes back to late last year. When you look back at affordable housing and how it has evolved here in New Jersey, and I use this terminology in the back and I'll use it out front, it's been nothing but government malpractice. No prior governor of either of the two major political parties, no members of the legislature wanted to deal with the affordable housing issue in the state of New Jersey. And where that left us back then was that legislation was being created through case law through the judiciary. And we had judges who I'm sure are well respected in the field of law. They go through a vigorous process to become Superior Court judges in the state of New Jersey. They're on there until a mandatory retirement date, so I'm sure the Senate does not take it lightly as to who they approve to be a Superior Court judge, but they are not experts in land use. They are not aware of the development opportunities and the development potential in all of the municipalities in the state of New Jersey. And what happened as that process evolved was special masters, which are essentially municipal planners, were hired by the courts to guide these judges through the affordable housing gauntlet that existed here in New Jersey. And parallel to that, you had a nonprofit organization called the Fair Share Housing Center, who filed litigation throughout the state to press municipalities to build more affordable housing, regardless of development potential and the ability to grow a community. And that's how we end up here. Now, within the last year, the Department of Community Affairs at the state of New Jersey down in Trenton has developed a more government-run process to facilitate what is now referred to as the fourth round of our affordable housing obligation. So that process started at the end of last year. We were notified over the holidays of what that schedule would look like. As we've talked about at multiple council meetings dating back to that time, we had deadlines in February, in June, and some softer deadlines at the end of August. There were two intervening parties, as I think the first speaker discussed tonight. Both of those were dismissed by the court. That is correct. They were both dismissed on technicalities. One was a property owner on Route 17 northbound, and the other was Kensington. There was an opportunity for them to come back into the process as an intervening party, but by that time, other landowners in the municipality had already been speaking to Beth McManus, our planner, about their interest in having their properties identified within our fair share affordable housing plan that we needed to submit to the state. So the reason I bring that up is in the prior meeting, there was discussion about an invitation to Kensington. There was no invitation to Kensington. Kensington headhunted those properties. There's contingencies on 3 of those parcels on North Maple Avenue. They drove the conversation with our planner, as did property owners on Chestnut Street, property owners on Goffel Road, and property owners within the commercial business district, which are still ordinances that this council must consider in the near future. I do think, and I will talk this over with the council, Mr. Fry, I don't think it would be a bad idea to vet those ordinances outside of this setting before introduction. I think a thorough and complete explanation of what those ordinances from a zoning perspective would invite is important for the entire Ridgewood community to understand. So I appreciate that suggestion. That had been in my mind for a while, and that's something that we need to talk with the council on moving forward. Tonight's closed session had to do with 2 filings, 2 lawsuits that were filed, one by Kensington in light of this council denying the approval of their ordinance back on August 13th. They are essentially preserving their rights by filing that litigation. And the other is by the Fair Share Housing Center that I alluded to earlier. Over 400 New Jersey communities also had litigation filed against them by Fair Share Housing. Some of those filings were redundant. I'll leave you to interpret that. But the one thing I will say is that 16 of those municipalities, their plans were alleged to be so egregious. We are not one of those municipalities. That Fair Share is pressing for them to lose their immunity against a builder's remedy lawsuit. And while Ridgewood is not one of those communities, I just bring that up tonight for the public's edification because that is something that we, the collective body that sits up here, myself, Matt Rogers, who's under the weather tonight, and Beth McManus, our planner, this is something we're trying to avoid happening in Ridgewood, okay? We need to be able to present an affordable housing plan that passes the smell test. 16 of our fellow municipalities failed to do that. And quite frankly, it would not shock me, depending on the judge that they get and the special master who guides that judge, as to them losing their immunity to a builder's remedy lawsuit. It's not a threat to this community. It's just a fact of life of how this thing has rolled out, because so much of this has been driven by the judiciary and not by the state government. So with that, I make these comments tonight just for your own edification, food for thought. I think it's important that we open up dialogue about how we introduce these ordinances and how we present them to the community so there is a full understanding of the benefits and the deficits to what's being proposed. But I will take that back to the council, and we will talk about what that path forward is, because this fall we are going to have to consider those other ordinances as we move forward to meet the state's deadlines.
Yeah, Keith, thanks for that. And just to be clear, I think the one thing we all agree upon is how bad the Mount Laurel and affordable housing regime is in the state of New Jersey. Democrat, Republican, nobody's gotten this one right. And unfortunately, municipalities and local councils like us are having to deal with this very draconian law and how it is that we navigate that while preserving the integrity and preserving the character of our village. And that means kind of having to make some decisions and make some hard decisions sometimes, but know that everyone up here is very much fighting for the integrity of the village. I will say, I know Caitlin had ran through some, at least her presentation of what some of the lawsuits and some of the legal filings had said. Unfortunately, Matt's not here, otherwise I would have asked Matt to respond. I am a lawyer. I'm not a municipal lawyer, though. But certainly, I wrote down, that, Caitlin has said that the court told us not to write Kensington into the plan. That's not what the court said. That's not an accurate statement. As Keith mentioned, they initially were denied intervention. They have now re-intervened as we're now being sued by that nonprofit. But to be clear, nobody is working with Kensington or somehow supporting Kensington. We are listening to Kensington as we listen to the residents to try to steer us through this nightmare of a mess that is the affordable housing regime in the state of New Jersey. I do want to thank Steve Freitas for reiterating, I think, something that we all feel strongly about, that we should not be demonizing those that we disagree with. I've had some really positive discussions with some folks who I have a lot of respect for on this Kensington issue, and I applaud your advocacy, and I applaud the work you've done in the community to have your voices heard. I think some of us, or some of them, have maybe assumed the worst of any intentions, merely because it's politically expedient to accuse folks of doing things, but the majority of folks that I've dealt with who have been so vocal on this topic have been really wonderful, I think, advocates for their position, and I'm thankful that they're here in the community along with us.
And Mayor, one other issue specifically on Kensington, and we said it in the back, I said it in the back, and I'll say it again up front publicly. Kensington has circulated a letter with an invitation to reach out to the leadership of their group. Right now, there is nothing before this council other than the litigation. So we will talk to our planner and we will talk to our attorney and we will figure out how to navigate that litigation. But there is no ordinance to consider because the one on August 13th was defeated. So there's nothing to be, while it is incorporated in the plan, there is nothing tangible for this council to consider at this point in time. I think it's incumbent upon the residents who expressed such concern back in August to open up that dialogue with Kensington. Let them know where you stand. Are there areas of compromise or are there not? But they have sent out a letter to the community asking for that dialogue and asking for that feedback. And in absence of anything to be considered by the village at this point, I would strongly recommend that you open up that direct dialogue and let them know exactly how you feel and how you see this moving forward.
And I want to reiterate some of the things that Evan and Keith talked about. When Kaylin came in, and I'm sorry that she's gone, it sounded like what she found was a smoking gun that based upon that information, we should never have been speaking to or discussed or considered any proposal involving Kensington. It was not. And while I am not Matt Rogers or Beth McManus, who I wish they were here tonight so that they could address it directly, that was not a reason by any means to not continue the discussion, not discuss the ordinance, and so we did. As I've said many times, and I said in the early meeting tonight, before this got to a hearing, we heard you. You said, don't do this. And before anything happened, we defeated the ordinance unanimously based simply upon your request. We did that. And if you want to impart negative intentions upon us or a lack of due care, I can't stop you from doing that. But we heard what you said, and we denied the ordinance. And the the denial of Kensington's intervenor motion was not a smoking gun. And again, I'll ask Matt or Beth to expound upon it. Anybody else? Then we will move on. Keith, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to start off by congratulating Officers Bonanno, Doyle, and Moody. I had the opportunity to interview each of the three before they were hired by the village, and I have to tell you, each was impressive. Their time at the academy was well spent, and we look forward to them serving the community here in Ridgewood. I also want to extend my congratulations to Police Officer Isaiah Walters being selected as the first of many to come, I'm sure, Officers of the Year. Isaiah goes above and beyond every day. I see him out on the street. I see him interacting with residents here. I see him helping people. I think at one point I saw him carrying somebody's groceries on a road job, but it is a testament to his service to the community as to why his fellow officers selected him to be honored, and I congratulate him for that. As was mentioned earlier, tonight is the eve of September 11th. I'd ask all the residents of Ridgewood to please take a few minutes to honor the 12 Ridgewood residents who lost their lives during the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center on September 11th. I also encourage you to please visit the portraits exhibit at the Ridgewood Public Library any day this month to see their photos and read about their lives and their families. With that, we have a few municipal items tonight. Talked about affordable housing. So the next item is the Kingsbridge Lane pedestrian bridge. The contractor has completed the welding and physical repairs, and the bridge is being moved out of the repair facility this week to begin sandblasting and paint work. They hope to deliver it late next week to the bridge site or early the following week, pending the completion of the aforementioned paint work. Once the bridge arrives back on site, they will have approximately 2 to 3 weeks worth of preparation on site to properly secure the bridge after it is placed. Although the bridge will be set at the location, it will remain closed to pedestrian traffic during that time until all safety work is complete. We are optimistic that it will be open to the public by mid to late October. Graydon Pool had another successful summer. Revenue collected this year was just about $385,000 at the pool, with 2,459 members this season. That number is down by about 285 members from last year. However, we did see an increase in guest passes this year rather than full season membership. The current membership count is consistent with our pre-pandemic numbers, and we remain above 2017, 2018, and 2019 when it comes to membership. We attribute the downward trend to families now being back to summer travel plans, along with an increase in summer sports and sleepaway opportunities for our children. This pattern is also consistent with our summer camp program and with our swim lesson registrants. Another factor this season was the number of days that Citizens for Swimming used Graydon in 2025. That number was less this year than in prior years. We received a lot of complimentary feedback this year from residents as to the clarity of the water and the well-maintained facility. We're also in the process in the off-season of including the shade covers on the north side of the pool facility. I want to again thank our Parks and Recreation Department for all they do, along with the seasonal staff who make Graydon such a wonderful experience for our residents and visitors alike. Last evening, the Village Council held a meeting regarding the Green Acres diversion issue. This issue dates back to 1983 when parkland on South Broad Street was developed into condominiums. In 2011, the village was notified of a violation under the NJDEP Green Acres rules relative to this development and created what is referred to as a diversion. This issue has lingered for more than a decade, and the village is now acting to designate replacement parcels on Hammond Road and Marlborough Road to correct this issue. In addition, new recreational facilities will be installed at the Kings Pond Park, along with a payment to the New Jersey Garden State Preservation Trust Fund. The public hearing was a legal requirement to move the process forward, and it was productive to hear from the interested parties who were in attendance. This is the next step forward in addressing the diversion, which we will now seek to gain State House Commission approval in Trenton. Once that approval is given, the issue will finally be resolved, and this long-standing issue will open us up to additional Green Acres opportunities for future funding through park development funds and also the Jake's Law program, which provides for playground equipment for young people with disabilities. And finally, the hearing loops that we will be installing both here and downstairs in the community center. The signed resolution and memorandum of understanding have been sent to Bergen County, and we are scheduled to have online sensitivity training for village employees in order to be able to operate the system. That training through the county is slated for late October or early November. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. Let's go to council reports. Siobhan, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So we met last week, but I did have a fields meeting yesterday morning with lots of good information. Couple of dates to note that on October 5th, Ridgewood Lacrosse will be sponsoring the same event that they did last year for American A Boy, which is to raise awareness about opioid and pain medication drug addictions, and it will be Sacred Heart versus Bonaventure at the high school. There was a discussion about many things, but the RASA Adult Soccer League wants to begin discussions to, Evan, this is for you, work with Cashaw Shell to host a World Cup watch party.
That's cool.
Summer of 2026. They went as far as finding the dates. It's looking like June 12th. They want it to be revenue generating, community building, soccer promoting, and RASA is partnered with the Ridgewood Maroons as well as RSA. And they're pretty fired up about that, and we were excited. There's no conflict with Cashaw, but they do want to talk to your committee. Seems like a great alternate use of a public amenity. We also received notification that we are going to be receiving a donation from RBSA, which will be solidified in a future resolution, but they're looking to donate about $56,000 for the Hawes Upper baseball field / softball field, just because there's members of the public here. Lower Hawes and Upper Hawes are actually villages fields, even though they bear Hawes' name, so we work closely with the Board of Education and the users of that field. The Lower Hawes was the beneficiary of money last year. This year, Upper Hawes will be coming in. I did want to say congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce for a fairly awesome car show. Town was buzzing. It was great to see people, to meet new people, and thank you to everybody who made it happen. I also wanted to thank the Ridgewood Arts Foundation and the Guild for an equally lovely Art in the Park on Sunday. It was awesome to see local talented showcased. And I want to remind people that this weekend is the street fair, which is great, and everybody should use all these opportunities to come out and engage. And lastly, as they said, tomorrow is September 11th. I want to take a brief moment to remind the community to honor everybody who passed, but also local police officers and fire departments who rendered aid. I've told this story before, but I will tell it again. I was living in New York. My cousin was in the first tower. We came here, and I was thinking, you know, it was so traumatic being in New York, and we came out here, and I couldn't sleep. I was at my parents', and I got up, and I ran into a police officer I went to high school with who was here and hadn't gone home because he was identifying the cars that were left at the train station. So tomorrow is the perfect chance for anybody to take a moment with their family, thank a local police officer, a local fireman, and honor this day in any way when the whole entire world was sad.
Mayor, through you, I missed 2 dates that I failed to announce, so if you'll indulge me for just a second. Siobhan is correct. The annual Ridgewood Fall Festival is this Sunday, September 14th, sponsored by the Parks and Recreation Department. It'll be along East Ridgewood Avenue between Maple and Oak from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The Ridgewood Inaugural Porch Fest. Join us for an unforgettable day. Front porches will become stages and sidewalks turned into dance floors. Porch Fest is where the neighbors, friends, and music lovers come together to celebrate the rhythm of our village. It will be held Saturday, September 20th, with performances from 1 p.m. to 2:55 p.m. on Brookside and Spring, and from 3 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. on the lawn at the Westside Presbyterian Church on South Monroe Street. Food trucks will be on site with beverages available for purchase. Beer and wine will be served during the evening performances. Grocery store gift card donations to the Social Services Association of Ridgewood and vicinity are also welcome. With regard to our upcoming Village Council meetings, we do have a meeting on September 24th. Our September 29th meeting is a Monday night meeting, and that's in recognition of the Wednesday being Yom Kippur. So just keep in mind, we have a meeting on Wednesday, September 24th, Monday, September 29th, and then we have an October 8th public meeting and an October 22nd work session, all begin at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Siobhan. Frank?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to tag on to all the lovely things Keith said about Parks and Rec, and that a few nights ago at the end of Newcomb Road by Sims Trail, is that what it's called? Which is, there were some students that encountered some, as they said, aggressive insects, and they were stung, as was a dog, and we were alerted, I think it was at 10 o'clock at night, Keith, when you forwarded the emails. Next morning, before 8 a.m., Matt Adrula from Parks and Rec was out there, located the nest, and got a professional exterminator to take care of them. So shout out to Matt for handling this issue that could have been a lot worse so quickly. Now to my council report. I only had the Ridgewood Arts Council met on Monday, and stay tuned because on Saturday, September 27th, they're going to have Chalk Festival, which will be held at Orchard School. So I know at least one person will be here. And so the whole idea will be that any kids that show up will be given chalk and then given a space, and they can just do whatever designs they want on the ground. So it'll be a really fun, and I think when it's done, a real cool visual experience. So there'll be more coming, but just mark in your calendar, September 27th for Chalk Festival. And that's it.
Ev?
Thanks so much. So I too want to heap praise on the Chamber of Commerce for the car show. The parking lot of Corvettes was my personal favorite. I got to teach my son about the benefits of a mid-engine Corvette versus a front-engine Corvette. So a very cool father-son bonding experience. Also, I know we haven't mentioned it, but we had coffee with the council this past Saturday. That was especially important to me because I attended that event 13 years ago when I moved here. And if you look over there, there's a councilman named Tom Ritchie. I actually met him at that event, and that was the first time I learned about Ridgewood government. So really great showing. We had about 2 dozen families that showed up. All of them were from all over the place. Just tells us how lucky we are to be here because all of them had great stories about trying to find a house to live with, how to try to buy a house in Ridgewood. I had 2 committees meet. Yes, I had 2 committees meet. So HPC met yesterday. Had some really good discussions around design and coloring of the bus station. Siobhan, I know you've been really leading on that, so thank you. But I appreciate the HPC coming in and expressing some opinions on the coloring and some of the design elements of the new bus station that's going to go up next to Van Est. And unfortunately, Cash Rochelle actually met earlier today. We were in closed session dealing with affordable housing. It was their sort of after summer wrap-up meeting. I'm going to try to meet with Gail, who's the head of that group, to try to bring some feedback back to this group, as well as Keith, anything that we could be doing better to support them. But they had a great season and a real testament, I think, to the hard work of those wonderful, wonderful volunteers at the Cash Rochelle. And finally, as I think others have hit upon, I too can't let the night go by without commenting on tomorrow. So 24 years ago tonight, I was in my 5th floor Brooklyn walk-up, thinking about my next day of work. I was a week into my job, my first real job as a baby prosecutor in Lower Manhattan. Suffice it to say, my next day was not what I anticipated. There are 2 things that come to mind. The first is how amazingly and unendingly grateful I am to the citizens of Ridgewood for allowing me to serve you in this capacity. Public service is an absolute gift, and I think about that every time I walk into this building and come up to this dais about the faith that's been shown to me and the obligation I have to the citizens of Ridgewood. And I can't thank you all enough, even those that disagree with me, but I can't thank you all enough for allowing me to serve you in this capacity. Secondly, as I think Siobhan very eloquently said, for me, One of the things I remember as I, along with tens of thousands, if not millions of people were being evacuated from Lower Manhattan on that day, was as we were leaving, the hundreds, if not thousands, of first responders that were literally running towards the fire, literally running towards danger, many of whom would not return to see their families. If you see a first responder tomorrow, please thank them. Police, fire, EMT, doesn't make a difference. I think, as we've also said, please keep the over 3,000 people we lost that day in your memory, as well as the 12 that called Ridgewood home on that day. But again, thank you all, citizens of Ridgewood, and God bless America.
Thank you, Ev. Pam? Pam.
I, too, thoroughly enjoyed the car show. My favorite car was the VW Thing.
Nice.
I had forgotten that was a model. Green Ridgewood and Green Team met last Thursday. We had a presentation similar to what was here in the council room about Saddle River Park and the recommendations from the Columbia graduate students. What this has done for our village is it has connected us with the other 5 towns. And a fellow from Paramus Environmental Commission came to our meeting, and so this is fostering collaboration, which is part of the ordinance that created Green Team. It is fostering collaboration in the region and up and down the Saddle River. The chairman of the Open Space Committee came to talk to us about the referendum that's going to be on the ballot in November. And we also talked about Grove Park and whether it should be used in storm times as a detention basin. And the chairman said, hey, it's already serving that purpose. It is a climax forest, which means the trees and the undergrowth are very mature, stable, with a mix of different species, and has never been disturbed. So that area is a very rare type of forest. It has never been logged, and it's definitely worth walking through. Coffee with the council was just so much fun. I got to speak with all these new people in town and tell them, oh, you haven't been to this park? Well, you got to go to Habernickel. Oh, you haven't been to the Dunham Trail? You got to check it out. And so I got to hawk all our parks. Art in the Park on Sunday was just delightful, and a lot of my friends were exhibiting, and I was so pleased to see all the talent that they were showing off. You may recall that in August, the Village Council did pass an ordinance for the organization of the Ridgewood Business Alliance, and we did this week have our first organizational meeting. The directors were seated, and we have a certificate of incorporation as a nonprofit, and we're off to the races. So we hope to accomplish a lot of uplift for our business community. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, the Central Business District Advisory Committee will meet via Zoom. You can join us if you go to the village website and look at the agenda. The link is on there, and we have a lot of ground to cover in terms of parking, lighting, how we can help the Ridgewood Business Alliance, etc. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Pam, and thanks for the really great work you've done in establishing a special improvement district. I believe that is going to bear fruit very, very soon. I just want to take a moment to recognize, as I often do, that, and Pam makes fun of me when I say this, that this is the greatest town in America, whether it's the car show, Art in the Park, Porch Fest, the Crafts Fair, or the Chalk Festival, which is called Chocolat by my friend Mark Cantor, who coined the term. So there's lots of great stuff in town. It's just so much fun, and look, this is stuff that everyone gets involved in. So if you haven't gone to these things, go. It's too much fun. Bless you. And I also want to take a moment for 9/11. I want to start by just saying that our very own Frank Del Vecchio, a local resident for many, many years, runs the Run for Hope Foundation, and every year on 9/11, he runs from Ridgewood to the site of the former World Trade Center to raise money. I ask you, as I do, chip in a couple of bucks. It goes to first responders and other worthy causes. And I want to thank Frank for the great work he does on that. And I was remiss, I'm the guy who keeps forgetting to take photographs, but I'm also the guy who neglected to take a moment for a moment of silence for 9/11. Ridgewood was especially hard hit as a community. So will you all join me in a moment of silence for the people we lost on 9/11? Thank you all. And now we will move on with our meeting. And so, we are at item 13A. I move the first reading of ordinance 4057.
I second it.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4057 by title?
A bond ordinance providing a supplemental appropriation of $1,500,000 for the construction of the main PFAS treatment facility in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $1,500,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
I move that ordinance 4057 be adopted on the first reading and that October 8th, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4058.
I second it.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4058 by title?
Hold on 1 second, sorry. Yes. A bond ordinance providing a supplemental appropriation of $2 million for the construction of the Eastside PFAS treatment facility in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $2 million bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
I move that ordinance 4058 be adopted on the first reading and that October 8th, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I would like to second that motion.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4059.
I second it.
Mortimer?
Yep.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4059 by title?
A bond ordinance providing a supplemental appropriation of $2 million for the construction of the Mountain PFAS treatment facility in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $2 million bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
I move that ordinance 4059 be adopted on the first reading and that October 8th, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
And I second it.
Mortimer?
Yep.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 4054. Excuse me, before we get to that, Keith, now that we have just voted on these 3 bond ordinances, are these the last 3 PFAS treatment facilities to be built? Or do we have one more?
So we have one that we have 9 of the 10 have been awarded. So the financing is in place, but we have one more contract that we'll have to award. That's the one that we rejected the bids at the last meeting.
Right. So of the 10 facilities, 9 are under either completed or under contract.
Correct.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to recognize that because Ridgewood Water's done an amazing job and has become a leader in the nation in addressing PFAS issues that just a few years ago weren't even an issue. And with that, I move the clerk read ordinance 4054 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
I second it.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4054?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 269 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood Water at Section 269 Water.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
Vagianos?
Yes.
I move that ordinance 4054 be adopted on the second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second that motion.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes.
The following resolutions for Ridgewood Water, numbered 25-363 to 25-365, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Award sole source contract, Control Wave Micro AI cards for SCADA system. Authorized shared services agreement, bulk water purchase, Borough of Hawthorne. Rescind and replace resolution number 25-264, change name of vendor, award professional services contract, project management and video production, public relations campaign for Ridgewood Water improvements. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I second it.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 4055 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
I second that.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4055?
A bond ordinance providing for various parking utility improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $1,372,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,300,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the cost thereof.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
I second.
Mortimer?
I'd like to say that I'm really excited to say yes on this.
Perrin?
Before I vote, I did want to let the public know that the kiosks that we have, there are about 100 of them, all need to be replaced because we can't get parts for them. And they are malfunctioning. So this is appropriate. And Walker Consultants is also part of this bond ordinance, that they will be giving us guidance in terms of parking in the future, and I look forward to hearing what they suggest. So I vote yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes, I just want to say that my entire life, parking has been a discussion, and this is one big step in our parking discussion for people who hate the kiosks, throwing on the, like my mom. This is a step to make it better for our senior citizens and respond to all the feedback we've heard about them. So, yes.
Vagianos?
Yes.
You need to move it?
I move that ordinance 4055 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I happily second that motion.
Mortimer?
Yep.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 4056 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
I super second this.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
Vagianos?
Before I vote, first I want to comment on how much fun Councilmember Mortimer is having in seconding. At one point, I think I heard him say, "I second that emotion." So, but I also want to comment that this is as I've said before, this is a first step. We have many steps to go, but as was said before on another matter, we are off to the races in an attempt to turn our beloved Warner Theater into a performing arts center. And with that, I give it a resounding yes.
So I'll read the title, a bond ordinance providing for a purchase option for the acquisition of a movie theater in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $250,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $237,500 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the cost thereof.
The public hearing is now open.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood taxpayer. Before I make my comments and I have some questions, I just have a procedural question, probably for Ms. Maylander. This is an ordinance for the down payment. Will there be another ordinance for the remaining amount?
I think actually I'm in the best position to answer this. This is not an ordinance for the down payment. This is an ordinance to purchase an option to purchase the theater. It's an option payment.
Option to purchase a theater.
Yes. And that option is contingent upon on obtaining a grant from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. This is a very, very expensive project, somewhere in the range of $30, $40, $50 million. And so this CAFE grant application program that's run by the state of New Jersey is absolutely designed for this kind of project. And the way the option agreement is structured is if the village gets the grant, which would then be assigned to the Ridgewood Arts Foundation, then we would execute the option and purchase the theater for an additional $2.5 million. If we do that, it would go directly to the Ridgewood Arts Foundation, and the Ridgewood Arts Foundation would reimburse the village for the $2.75 million it has laid out from the proceeds of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority grant. At that point, the Ridgewood Arts Foundation would be the owner and operator of the Performing Arts Center.
Are you done?
I am.
Okay. My question still remains. This is for $250,000. What about the remaining amount? Is there another ordinance for that?
If we don't get the grant, we don't spend $2.5 million. If we get the grant, the Ridgewood Arts Foundation would purchase the theater from Warner Bowtie, from Bowtie Cinemas. So the village would not be laying out any money.
So we would never be the owner of, the village of Ridgewood would never be the owner of the property.
It is unlikely that we would ever be the owner. If we were the owner, it would be for a brief bridge period of a matter of months.
So my question remains. If the village of Ridgewood is going to be the owner for a very short period of time, is another ordinance required in order for the $2.5 million to be authorized?
It is possible. It is unlikely, but it is possible.
Okay.
To get deeper into the weeds on this, the NJEDA grant is issued in the form of tax credits. Those tax credits are monetized. Monetizing tax credits is a process. Depending upon how long the process takes, would determine if there was that bridge and if the village did have to bond for a short period of time. It is less likely, but it is possible.
Okay, so you've answered my question. The village may have to bond for a short period of time, and if the village does have to bond, that means you would have to come back and have another public hearing in order to issue those bonds. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
However, most unlikely.
Most unlikely. I've understand
quantify
most
that.
unlikely,
Right.
but I wanted to know whether, if in fact the village of Ridgewood needs to take possession of that property, whether there'll be an opportunity for more public comment at that time. And the answer to that question is yes. Finally,
Yes,
thank you very much.
And just if that were to occur, the village would be fully reimbursed for both bonds from the proceeds of the NJEDA grant.
Okay, so now you've done a great job of leading me into my next question. What if that doesn't happen? What happens to the $250,000?
We do not get it back. We have What we have done is we have paid $250,000 to take this off of the market so that we have the opportunity to purchase it later. During that time frame, I will comment that the Bowtie Cinemas continues to pay taxes on the property.
You didn't answer the question, Mr. Mayor. We have an option, a $250,000 option to purchase the property. The taxpayers are getting ready to float a bond for $250,000. It is my understanding that that $250,000 option is non-refundable. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, and I did answer it. I actually
It's
said that.
non-refundable.
I
So
said that we do not get the money back.
So we're taking a $250,000 risk. If we do not get this grant, or if the Arts Council does not get this grant, the taxpayers could be on the hook for $250,000.
That's correct.
And the Ridgewood Arts Council, if they have their
Ridgewood Arts Foundation.
Ridgewood Arts Foundation, they're in the process now of raising money to purchase this property.
They
Is
have
that-
not begun raising money. They are in the process of applying for the grant. The NJEDA, in order to give out that kind of money, the grant application process is burdensome. It is tremendous. It requires a team of people. They have raised a couple of $100,000 simply to retain the team that will apply for the grant. So they will not begin fundraising unless and until they get the grant.
So, I'm sorry. So the taxpayers of the Village of Ridgewood are going out and putting down $250,000. If they don't get the grant, they have no intent in reimbursing the taxpayers of the Village of Ridgewood for the $250,000 that we put out for them. Is that what you're telling me?
That is exactly what I'm telling you.
Wow.
And it's worth the risk.
Agreed. I mean,
But why wouldn't they raise money to pay us back if we're taking out that?
The Ridgewood Arts Foundation is not in the position to raise money for this project at this point in time.
I understand that, but at some point in time, maybe they would be nice enough to pay the taxpayers of Ridgewood back the $250,000 that we took a risk for. Wouldn't you think that would be the nice thing to do? But it sounds like you're saying to me, they have no intent of ever doing that. We're going out on a limb for them, but they have no intent of ever paying us back for our generosity.
We're not going out on a limb for them. We're going out on a limb for the community. The
Oh,
community
okay.
that has, excuse me, you asked a question?
Okay, go ahead.
So I'll respond. The community that has overwhelmingly supported this project, and that if this project reaches fruition, and that's an if, because there are many pitfalls along the way, but if it reaches fruition, it will benefit the entire community. One of the ways it will benefit the entire community, in addition to having wonderful shows in downtown filling our stores, is that and you and I had this conversation once many years ago at the diner, is that the busier the stores are, that means that the more valuable those stores are. The higher the assessed value, the higher the taxes that they are assessed at, which is why, for example, Paramus, as we know, has a very low taxes, property taxes, because they have a very good tax base because of the commercial properties. This would enhance the commercial tax base to the benefit of the residential taxpayer.
I am not disputing the fact that if this thing gets off the ground, it's going to be a benefit to almost everybody in Ridgewood. Not disputing the fact that also I didn't need that lecture. What I am saying is that the taxpayers of the Village of Ridgewood are taking a $250,000 risk for an organization that wants to do something in Ridgewood. If for some reason this falls flat, there's no intent of that group to pay the taxpayers back. Just seems kind of odd to me.
I think the one element of this discussion that's not been presented is, having met with EDA, based on the grant design structure, I think the competitiveness of the grant programming the grant program gives some peace of mind with warranting this risk. Now, I can't sit up here, Mr. Loving, and tell you that we're going to get this grant, slam dunk, end of story. That's not the case. This is a competitive process. To the mayor's point, this is an arduous process. There is a lot of detail. Probably, this may be the most detailed grant we ever write coming out of the Village of Ridgewood in order to try to apply for these funds from the EDA. But in talking to the leadership at EDA and knowing what other communities, what other nonprofits are pursuing these funds, I do believe that the risk is worth the reward.
Yeah, and I agree. And listen, Boyd, as you know, I'm probably the most fiscally conservative, which is a way of saying cheap person on this
cheap.
dais.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's apt. With that said, this is a worthwhile risk to take. I mean, the Ridgewood Arts Foundation is volunteers. They're working on behalf of the Village of Ridgewood. We spent so much time in these chambers talking about preserving the history and the character of the village. The Warner Theater is an anchor of that history and character. And even I, as cheap as I am, have no problem laying out $250,000 of our tax dollars in order to give that foundation a fighting chance to keep that theater a theater and not having it being developed into housing or strip mall or something else. So I am more, and listen, you may come back a year from now and say, hey, you guys blew $250,000, and if that happens, we own that. But candidly, I would much rather own that than having said this council did nothing to try to preserve that Warner Theater.
Councilman Whites, if you blow $250,000, guarantee I will be back. You don't have to say I might be back. I will be back to say you blew $250,000.
And what I would, here, and the other half of that coin, if it's successful,
I'll be back.
Will you come back and say
I will
nice
be
things?
back. I promise you, if this is successful, I will be back to say that was a great job spending that $250,000.
Well, listen, I love Monday morning quarterbacking. That's terrific.
There's a guarantee you're back either way.
Guarantee I'm back
Okay,
either
I
way.
gotcha.
Yeah,
He's
that's
going
it.
to be back
You'll
in
see
2
me
weeks,
either
by
way.
the way, at our next meeting. So.
Just need to check with my doctor to make sure that I'm going to be around.
Yep.
Then. Thank you so much. Good
Thank
evening.
you. Anybody else? Seeing no one else, I move the public hearing be closed.
I second it.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
Vagianos?
Yes.
I move that ordinance 4855 be adopted on the second reading and final publication as required by law.
It's
56.
56.
Sorry, 56.
I second the motion for 56.
Mortimer?
I would like to say, too, that I think this is great. And again, I'd like to congratulate the mayor for orchestrating this. He makes it sound simple, but he brought a lot of moving pieces together to make this happen. And with that, I say yes.
Perrin?
I echo what Councilman Mortimer says. This requires keeping a lot of balls in the air and a lot of moving parts here. And Paul has done a great job orchestrating the whole thing for our benefit. Yes.
Whites?
For all the reasons I laid out when discussing with my friend Boyd over there, and also thank you again, Paul, for your leadership on this, I proudly vote yes and hope to be seeing shows at that theater sometime in the near future.
Winograd?
I, too, for the sake of being redundant, want to thank everybody who made this happen. I also want to point out, because this is a large, important parcel in an artery of our downtown, and so through some of the discussion of housing, we are taking a lot of steps to make sure that our streets are maintained and developed appropriately, and this is one of them. It thwarts bad development. It's a commitment to our downtown. It's a commitment to our merchants, and for that I'm very grateful, and break a leg, Paul.
And Vagianos? Did you vote? You
Yes.
didn't vote. Okay. And Vagianos?
And I want to take a moment to thank Bill Gilsenin, John Saraceno, and Albert Pucciarelli, who worked very closely with me to make this happen, because, as I said, there were many, many moving parts. We are just at the starting line on this. Keep your fingers crossed. Yes.
Okay. So resolutions, the following resolutions, number 25-366 through 25-381, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Title 59, approval, furnishing, and delivering of sodium bisulfite solution and sodium hypochlorite solution, water pollution control facility. Award contract furnishing and delivering of sodium bisulfite solution and sodium hypochlorite solution water pollution control facility. Award contract under state contract computer equipment for the Village of Ridgewood and Ridgewood Water. Award professional services contract, remediation of Shedler property, New Jersey Economic Development Authority's hazardous discharge site remediation fund grant, reimbursement of costs for site investigation, remedial investigation, and remedial action work plan, Shedler property. Award professional services contract, remediation of Shedler property, New Jersey Economic Development Authority's hazardous discharge site remediation fund grant, remedial action plan. Approved change in title or text in 2025 budget, Department of Community Affairs, Recreational Opportunities for Individuals with Disabilities Grant. Chapter 159, 2025 budget amendment, grant from State of New Jersey, Department of Community Affairs, Recreational Opportunities for Individuals with Disabilities Program. Chapter 159, 2025 budget amendment, grant from State of New Jersey, Department of Environmental Protection, purchase of radon test kits. Chapter 159, 2025 budget amendment, grant from State of New Jersey, Department of Health, strengthening local public health capacity for communicable disease expenses. Chapter 159, 2025 budget amendment, grant from New Jersey Association of County and City Health Officials, protection of public health and safety. Chapter 159, 2025 budget amendment, grant from the College of New Jersey, Sustainable Jersey Grant, funding for technical assistance for energy efficiency and municipal facilities. Appoint member to Community Center Advisory Board. Appoint member to Green Team Advisory Committee. Appoint member to Central Business District Advisory Committee. Appoint village council member to the board of the Ridgewood Business Alliance. May I have a motion?
So moved.
And I second that very long list, Heather. Great job.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes.
The following resolutions, number 25-382 through 25-384, will be considered separately and read in full. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood Village submitted an application to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, for project authorization to develop multifunctional public park at the Shedler property, which contains the John A. Zabriskie House, listed on the New Jersey and National Registers of Historic Places. And whereas the proposed park development includes construction of a multi-sport artificial turf athletic field, walking and hiking trail, ADA accessible playground for children of all abilities, landscaped areas for passive recreation, historic interpretive elements, and supportive infrastructure, including parking and restroom facilities. And whereas the New Jersey Historic Sites Council reviews the application at public meetings on July 21st, 2025 and August 21st, 2025, at which time the village presented its plan for the development of the park, and all objectors and supporters were given the opportunity to present their respective opinions and positions in regard to the village's plan. And whereas after the August 21st, 2025 public hearing, the village submitted supplemental documentation to address the concerns raised by the Historic Sites Council, and whereas the Assistant Commissioner of the NJDEP Office of Community Investment and Economic Revitalization issued a conditional authorization letter dated August 27th, 2025, authorizing the proposed park development subject to 9 specific mitigating conditions. And whereas the conditional authorization requires the village's written acceptance within 60 days of August 27th, 2025, and signature on the authorization letter constitutes formal acceptance of the conditions. And whereas the village council finds that accepting these conditions is in the best interest of the community and will allow the village to proceed with the much-needed park development while appropriately preserving and interpreting the historic significance of the Zabriskie Shedler house and property, and whereas failure to respond within the 60-day deadline will result in automatic denial of the application. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that it accepts and embraces the written conditional authorization decision of the Assistant Commissioner of the NJDEP Office of Community Investment and Economic Revitalization, dated August 27th, 2025, which authorizes the proposed development of the Shedler property. And be it further resolved that the village manager, Keith Kasmark, is hereby authorized and directed to execute the conditional project authorization letter dated August 27, 2025, issued by the Assistant Commissioner of the NJDEP Office of Community Investment and Economic Revitalization, thereby accepting all conditions set forth therein. And be it further resolved that the village manager take all actions necessary to comply with the 9 conditions specified in the authorization letter, including but not limited to: A, retaining qualified professionals, meeting Secretary of Interior professional qualification standards; B, coordinating with the Historic Preservation Office for required reviews and approvals; C, implementing required documentation, monitoring, and preservation plans; and D, developing and submitting all required plans, reports, and materials within specified timeframes. And be it further resolved, the village council, village manager, and any other required village officials are hereby authorized to execute any additional documents and take such other actions as may be necessary to implement the terms and conditions of the project authorization. And be it finally resolved, this resolution shall take effect upon adoption as permitted by law. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mortimer?
So I'd just like to say that I'm excited to see the 9 conditions and all that we're going to do with the History and Cultural Center, and with the 250th anniversary of our country coming up. I'm just really excited to see and be part of helping that come together to honor our country. Additionally, that since yesterday we did the disposal with Green Acres, that with any luck, maybe we'll be able to use, if we get it all the way through, some of that Jake's Law money for the playground there, so that way it can be accessible to everyone and all people. And for those reasons, I proudly vote yes.
Perrin?
I cannot vote in favor of this resolution because with the installation of artificial turf, I feel that we expose the public to potential health risks due to the presence of carcinogens and endocrine disruptors, the off-gassing of VOCs and phthalates, and also for the environmental harms that are likely, such as heat island effect and global warming contributing to that. And another thing that I haven't mentioned before in the comparisons that I've read about the cost of artificial turf versus natural grass and hour for hour of playtime, it works out that over 20 years, artificial turf is far more expensive than grass, and therefore it is not a good economic proposition for our taxpayers. So I vote no.
Whites?
After 16 years of delay and obfuscation, I am proud to vote yes and to give this field to the kids of our community, and really thank everyone who had a role in finally getting this through and getting this done. Can't wait to see our kids and our community enjoying that space, given that we've now owned it for close to 2 decades and have not developed it.
Winograd?
Let's build a park. Yes.
Vagianos?
Yes.
Okay.
And for the next 2 matters, I'm going to recuse myself and turn this over to Pam.
Well, it's actually me. Be resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the plans and specifications specifically titled Tree Planting Throughout the Village of Ridgewood, prepared by the Village of Ridgewood Department of Public Works, Engineering Division for the Parks Department, be and is hereby approved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood. This resolution is adopted pursuant to the authority of NJSA 59:4-6.
So moved.
Second.
Mortimer?
Yep.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
I've recused
Oh,
myself.
it is excusing. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know you said
Just hide
that.
under the desk.
Yep, it's fine.
It's late. Next one, whereas the Village of Ridgewood received 6 bids for tree planting throughout the Village of Ridgewood on August 27, 2025, now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood is the award of the work of tree planting throughout the Village of Ridgewood inclusive be and is hereby awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, Downstreet Service, Inc., 65 Royal Avenue, Hawthorne, New Jersey, 07506, in an amount not to exceed $60,060, and be it further resolved that the Chief Financial Officer has certified that funds are available in account number C04-55-9DJ-710.
So moved.
Second.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
And let's go back to public comment.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood taxpayer. I had some concerns late last week and early this week regarding the wellness program or wellness initiative with respect to information that was being collected. I'm happy to say that the manager's office directed Carol to get back to me, and those concerns have been answered with respect to the security of the information that is being provided by participants. However, the thought occurred to me that this is public information, and is public information that could be subject to Oprah from a commercial concern who has interest in our residents and what they're thinking about in terms of wellness initiatives. I just spoke to Carol in the hallway before she left, and she has informed me that Dylan has determined that none of that information is available by Oprah. I am going to confirm that with Heather before I leave the room tonight, but that would be a joy if that happens, because we certainly wouldn't want a commercial concern to start spamming our residents who have participated in this, trying to sell them on whatever in terms of wellness or health. So I'm hoping that that information can remain confidential and it stays out of the hands of a commercial provider. If not, I'm hoping that we can redesign the form somehow so that no name appears so they can't figure out who the individual it is. As you know, last night I commented at the public hearing concerning the diversion, disposal, whatever we're calling it now, and I expressed my disappointment that no village council in the past 25 years that I've been attending meetings has ever said anything about trying to find a piece of property in the neighborhood from which that parcel was removed. Following the closure of the public comment period, with no further opportunity for any member of the public to speak, Councilwoman Winograd said that she had been involved in a grassroots movement to try to find some property in the area, and said, if I'm quoting you correctly, that there was no property suitable that was available. I dispute that fact, and I did not say that people privately weren't looking for property. I said that the village wasn't looking for property. And I will say this, money talks, nobody walks. If there was property available and the village was willing to spend the money, they would have found a piece of property. I dispute the fact that there was no property in that neighborhood that could have been purchased. We heard Ms. Maylander state that at that time the council didn't want to spend any additional money. So it was a money issue, not a lack of property that was available. So I'm hoping that we can set that record straight, and in the future I would appreciate comments being made prior to the public hearing being closed, when the public can no longer make comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Boyd.
Actually, well,
Ann Loving, Ridgewood taxpayer. I wanted to thank the village manager for the report about Graydon. I think that's about the earliest we've ever gotten a report on Graydon, and I'm glad it was all positive. We haven't belonged in the last couple of years, but we love Graydon and support it thoroughly, so I'm glad it did well. I have a concern about this Kensington letter that was mentioned tonight, which was apparently sent to some residents. First of all, I don't know who the residents are. I'm guessing it was probably people in the immediate area where Kensington wants to build, but that's really wrong because we're all concerned. You know, why wouldn't they send it to every resident in town? Secondly, I find it concerning that residents are being encouraged to reach out to Kensington. It seems very unusual that residents would talk, number one, to an organization that has a lawsuit against us, and number two, to any vendor that wants to do business with us. Why? I don't understand why we as residents would be encouraged to try and talk to them about options or compromises. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I'm particularly wondering too why we didn't all get the letter. I mean, if the letter went out. I know you guys didn't send a letter, but I wonder why Kensington didn't just do a general mailing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and allow the council an opportunity. Oh, wait. Yes, there is one. Thank you. Mr. Hallaby, I missed your hand. You are up.
No problem. Rurik Halaby, village resident. And I tell you, I'm 1,000% in support of what you're doing with the theater. In fact, 5 years ago, I remember writing a letter to the Ridgewood News saying that this, the days of big theaters is over, and that hopefully something could be done to turn it into a performing arts center. Now, you're going to be taking risks. You're going to be taking risks. I'd rather have you take a risk and fail. And I will be so supportive of you. I don't mind people failing. But unless you take a risk, then you can never succeed. And this idea of Monday morning quarterbacking everything you're doing is ridiculous. Now, where have these people been when millions of dollars were wasted on Shedler? Things like copper gutters, Marvin windows, on and on and on and on. They were silent. And now what could be the showcase for the Central Business District, and I know you'll be working hard with the talent you have behind you, you will succeed. I'm willing to put money on it, even though I might end up losing. But seriously, what you're doing is just right. I say, God bless you, and please continue doing what you're doing, and unless people take risks, they will never succeed. So best of luck to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rurik. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I am now going to close public comment.
Mayor, very quickly, with regard to the information being collected for the wellness program, the Oprah requirements would be the same as any other information that we collect. I know when people are asking for personal information or people's information that they've submitted to the village, especially for a commercial purpose, Heather vets that through legal. I don't want to speak for Heather, but that process would continue. So the data collection for the wellness program would be no different than the data collection that the library does, that the recreation department does, when people come in to apply for permits, so on and so forth. To Mrs. Loving, with regard to Kensington, I can't speak to what their circulation process was for the letter. They did send one as a courtesy, so we were aware of it. But as far as the invitation to open up dialogue with Kensington, if you read the letter, and I'm happy to share it with you tomorrow if you want to drop me an email, they're inviting that dialogue. Right? They're asking the residents to reach out to them to open the dialogue. So I'm just reiterating what we saw the letter say. Whether residents want to do that, whether they want to have that conversation, that's an individual decision that folks will have to make.
Anybody else?
Yes, as I mentioned last night at the disposal diversion hearing, years ago, the director of Parks and Rec, Nancy Bigos, and I went to the neighborhood where the park existed on South Broad Street, and there was a particular property we looked at, and as I recall, the property owner did not want to sell. So
Yeah, so I just want to say the same thing. For those of you who weren't at the meeting last night, this was prior to my time on council, and the area where the diversion disposal occurred is my neighborhood. I think Heather would agree, I was very active in this discussion prior to my time on council, and we engaged the then village council, which nobody was a part of here. And there was, from my perspective as a neighbor in that area, a very sincere effort to come out and look at all the properties that the neighborhood self-identified. 2 were not for sale, and as I mentioned last night, several people with very large yards wanted to cut them, but the acreage didn't gather that. So I can't speak to that village council, but what I was speaking to last night is there was a very sincere effort to purchase and acquire land there. From a council that I very much disagreed with on a lot of things, but it's really just not even worth like clarifying, but I did just want to say, because I feel like there's sometimes animus between councils. In my opinion, and Heather was my counterpart, there was a very sincere effort with the neighborhood, which I am a very real resident, and there were very real properties removed because the acreage was too small, or the actual, it was an awkward situation. Several of the properties identified, the person was like, well, I'm not selling that. So anyway, either way, the diversion's over. We're very grateful. It would have been wonderful to be back closer to town, but we're moving forward.
Anybody else? Seeing no one,
Resolution. Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on September 10th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached. And the said closed session be held in the caucus room on the 4th floor of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to personnel matters to include boards and committees and Faulkner Act. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 at second. Be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.